what human design has to say about what's going on with the royal family of England and their new daughter in law, Meghan Markle, Mountbatten, Windsor, Wales. And so when I was thinking about doing this presentation for you guys, it was interesting. I was doing some investigating on Clubhouse, and I ended up in this room where I was the palest person in the room. And so I just listened, and they had the same point of view that I had. Many of them had the same point of view that I had, that maybe this was a huge opportunity for, sophistication and sort of a cosmopolitan feel to start to come into the royal family. And I am located in Canada. And so in Canada, the Queen of England is actually our queen in Canada. We do have a parliamentary system. And so there is part of our government process that includes the Queen of England. And then there's a lot of the part of our government process that doesn't include the Queen of England. And so we sort of grew up watching the royal family. I remember getting up very early to watch some of the royal weddings back in the 80s when I was a kid and, sort of watch what goes on. I remember I remember watching Charles and Diana get married, and I remember watching Fergie and Andrew get married. And, I watched Will and Kate get married, and I definitely watched Harry and Meghan get married. And, I just felt like I was part of the process of them and their relationship. And, I watched the Oprah interview, and I really looked at, their emotions. I looked at their relationship. Part of the process of what I do for businesses and for family owned businesses is I am very, very sensitive, and I've always been a very sensitive person. And I've always had a knack for putting people into the right roles, or knowing where people should be. And, in business, if you come to me as a private person who owns their own business, or who owns a business and is a big part of making the choices of who goes where, then what I love to do is use a tool called human design to show you more about yourself. So you know what your strengths are, what really, really your strengths are in the world. And so human design's been around since the 1990s, and it includes some ancient processes. It includes something called the I Ching. It includes something called the what do I want to say? The chakra system. It also includes astrology. It's based on 5 different energy systems. And for me, I find it such an amazing tool to be able to show people what their strengths are, what their true talents are, and how they can capitalize on their true strengths and talents to do their best work in the world, make sure that their life's purpose is really actualized. And so people who have businesses, you guys might know this, but 3 out of every 5 businesses fail in the first 5 years. So just, put a pin in that. And then you look at relationships. Half of every relationship doesn't work out. And then here's another cool statistic. 70% of people really can't stand their job and what they do for a living. So imagine you have this set of talents and you decide that you're going to open a business, or maybe like Harry, you are born into a family business and maybe you just can't stand it. Maybe you can't stand your family business. So how we're going to roll today is, if you're watching this on Facebook, I have a link for you to join us on Clubhouse. Otherwise, what I'm going to do is later I will moderate your comments and questions. I have one of my best gal pals, Christine, moderating on Clubhouse with me today. And so she's not my employee, she's just hanging out and helping out. And so we'll go through your questions as we go. I'm going to be presenting information on Harry himself and then the various family members and his relationships with the various family members, including his wife, Meghan. And so what I would really, really love for you to have a look at is your own impression of the information that I'm imparting today. So why don't we just be little scientists and put our magnifying glasses up to our eye and really enjoy the information that we're getting today. I'm not going to tell you what to think about any of this because it's going to be your own interpretation. This is a really comprehensive body of work. If you've ever seen a human design body graph, I'm going to be showing you some today. And so what's included in a human design body graph is your profile. So what are you? There is a projector, a generator, a manifesting generator, a reflector, and a manifester. And so all of those energy types have different ways that they go out in the world and express themselves. And so you'll see that there's different energy types here in the royal family, and it changes how the relationships are with one another. And there's no specific energy type that's any better than the energy types. It's the talents that you have and the talents that you can express with your energy type are very, very clear. And so the information that I'm going to give you as I bring up the profiles, I will tell you what their energy type is. I will tell you what their profiles are. So I think there's a dozen different, anyways, there's a huge spectrum of profiles. And so the profile numbers are 1 through 6 on either side, and I'm going to explain it to you. So on either side, so you are born with your normal birth chart. So your normal astrological birth chart will be the personality side, so the conscious part of your profile. And then 88 days before you were born, something comes in. It's called your soul crystal, comes into your body, and that's imprinted with information as well. And so that's the unconscious part, and mostly is what governs your body, in your incarnation on the planet this time. So you have two different numbers. The first number will be your conscious number, and the second number will be your unconscious number. So the first number is more to do with your personality. You will definitely know about these personality traits, and I'm going to tell you what the personality traits are of the key players here. And you will sometimes know about what's going on with your body, but not always. And so one of the things that they say about human design is once you start to know about your design, the deconditioning process, so the process of being more comfortable and more conscious about what it is that you're doing with your talents, is a 7-year process. So are you willing to be patient with yourself and to start to gather information about yourself? And so if human design is brand new to you, what I'm going to recommend that you do is you go to your web browser and look up free human design chart and download your chart and start to gather information about your energy type, your profile numbers, and your sun position. And so I'm going to talk to you guys today about the various sun positions of the key players of our broadcast. And we're hoping that we're going to have some more people join us in this room. So maybe if you're joining us in this room, press the plus button and start to share this broadcast with people who might be interested in joining us today. So our key player in all of this is Harry. It's Harry. It's always been Harry. It will continue to be Harry because Harry's the one who knows who his family is. Harry's the one who invited Meghan into his family. And so that's one of the things that when you're doing information, when you're doing consulting for a business, you have to make sure that you're talking to the key player. So say sometimes you end up talking to the husband who wants his wife to make changes, or sometimes you end up talking to the wife who wants her husband to make changes. But if we're talking about a family business, we need to talk to the key players in the family business. So maybe put a note like that to yourself, like, who is the key player? Am I talking to the correct people in this business if you do business consulting? And if you do any sort of personal work with people, are you talking to the people who sign the checks? Be careful that you're talking to the people who sign the checks. So thank you so much for joining us today, Cherie. I am thrilled that you're joining us on Clubhouse. Welcome, welcome. So what we're going to end up doing today is I'm going to run you through some information that I have. And after every slide, what I'll do is I'll open up the broadcast for people to ask questions about the information that I'm providing. If I don't have the information, I'm going to show you some places where you can look for the information. And I think it's important to note that, growing up in Canada and having the royal family be my royal family, I may have some unconscious conditioning. I may actually want these people to do better than they're doing in their life. It's very interesting. Yesterday, I ended up when I got this concept that I might want to bring human design into this conversation, I went into a Facebook, or not a Facebook group, a Clubhouse group. And, I was the whitest person there. I don't think there were any more Caucasian people. It was all people of color. I think a lot of them from Africa and maybe from Commonwealth countries around the world. So we ended up having a conversation. I was invited to share my point of view. And my point of view is that I really want these people to do well. They're supposed to be role models, or at least they have the opportunity to be role models and to do their best work in the world. And that's what they say that they want to do. They want to be able to, bring their eyes to different foundations and public works. And so if they're spending a lot of time in drama and in conflict, they're not actually doing the thing that they're here to do on the planet. That's my point of view. You're welcome to agree with me or not agree with me. And again, I'm going to remind you, if you're watching this on Facebook inside my group, I'm going to invite you to hop on over to Clubhouse and see us over here. I put the link in the comments. And if you're watching this later, you are so invited to put comments in the below this, wherever it shows up afterwards. And I would love to have a conversation about how we create family businesses, that not only nourish the key players, they are on a global stage and they're really doing the best work that they can here on planet Earth. Because what else is the point? So I'm going to share some of my slides with you. Okay. So let me grab this. Here we go. All right, so here's Harry. I don't know why that keeps opening. And so Harry, his real name is Henry Charles Albert David Mountbatten Windsor, Wales. Let me get me out of the way. So he is an emotional manifesting generator. And so what do we know about manifesting generators? They are freaking fast. They are the fastest energy type. They can basically genie blink stuff into place. And so why would you want to hire a manifesting generator? Well, if you're stagnating in your life and in your business, if you want to get stuff done fast in your business, if you want to be able to skip steps and just go straight to whatever it is that you are looking for results on, in many cases, a fully conscious manifesting generator can get stuff done for you way faster than you can get done. And so if you are a manifesting generator, and then you are working with manifesting generators, then what can happen is you're going so quickly that you may skip steps. So if you are the energy types, projectors working with manifesting generators, if they are directing traffic correctly, they can get stuff done way faster. And if they turn over quite a bit of the work to the manifesting generator, if they can trust them, then the manifesting generator just goes and does the work and brings it back. And then if there's a trusting relationship, the projector will be able to say, okay, well, 80% of this is done, but I would like you to do this, this, and this. And so that's usually what happens with a manifesting generator, is they know exactly what you want and they just go out and get it. So if we look here to profile type, he's a 1-3 investigating martyr. So an investigating martyr, the one line is someone who always has more than enough information, and they're very, very curious about the information that's required. And so they will read a lot, they will pay attention to social media, they will pay attention to what's going on in their life. And the martyr is someone who likes to try all sorts of things. And so you see this with Harry's life. He wants to try all sorts of things. He took 2 tours in Afghanistan. And, he's been all over the world. He's done really remarkable work all over the world. He's had lots of different relationships. He's had lots of different, face plants in his life. Martyrs will try all of the things. And so when you look at human design, martyrs are the people who will always have an experimental process for how they live their life. And so when you're an outsider looking in on a 1-3, you might be like, oh, for heaven's sakes, why are you making those choices? And they may not be able to know why they're making their choices, because the 3, so the first part of this equation, the 1, is fully conscious. So in most cases, Harry's going to know that he likes to have tons of information before he makes a choice on something. And the 3 is on the unconscious side. That's the body side. So he may not even know that he is always in an active process of trying new things, trying on new things, and possibly making mistakes. The 3 energy is a trial by error energy. Hi, Jasmine. Thanks so much for showing up here on Clubhouse. I want to let you know that we do have live slides available inside of my community. So if you go to community.jennifercramerlewis.com after the broadcast and request to become a member of the community, the slides and the video are available. So if you want to actually have a look at Harry's guts with me, you can do that. You can also Google him. His human design chart is very available online. So let's keep going here. So Harry is designed to respond. So his strategy is responding. And so what does responding look like? Well, responding is not initiating. So the best way to describe that is he's designed to respond to what's happening in his universe. And we're going to find out later how he can respond and how some of the choices that he's made during this process has been responding, and some of them have been initiating, and so how that's might not be wonderful for him. So Harry, his number one thing that he's here to be and do is this gate called 6.1. So gate 6 is all about conflict and friction. So he's here actually to create friction in the world. And so you might find that that's interesting, that someone's number one role is to create friction in the world. And so all of these different gates, there's 64 gates, and there's 64 different roles that people can have in the world and on the planet. And so this one's called conflict friction. And he's line 1 there. So I'm just going to read this to you. And again, this is me presenting this information. And so what I would love for you to do is just write down any questions that you have. When we're done presenting each of these slides, we're going to open up the floor for some questions. If you're just joining us on Clubhouse, I'd love for you to press that plus button and invite people to come and play with us today, finding out about what's really going on with Harry and Meghan and the royal family. So gate 6, conflict friction, the fundamental design component of progress, the law that growth cannot exist without friction. So if you're trying to grow, but you're trying to grow peacefully, Harry's probably not the person that you're going to invite into your family business. But if you didn't know that, if you were like, okay, anything we get from Harry is going to have some friction in it, we might be a little pissed off with him. We might be a little pissed off with him on the daily. If you just knew that about your son, if you just knew that about your grandson, if you knew it about your husband, what choices would change? And so that line 1 is retreat. The realization that wasting one's resources against overwhelming odds is not courage, but folly. Wasting one's resources against overwhelming odds is not courage, but folly. So think about that, you guys. I'm not going to tell you what to think, but that's pretty telling, isn't it? It's completely telling that not only is he here for conflict and growth, but he's also very, very aware of what works and what doesn't work. And he's not interested in what doesn't work. And then if we go down here to his unconscious Mars, 44.5. So in the human design chart, this is what's called your desk work or your vocation. So Harry's desk work is 44.5, coming to meet alertness. So let me read you the keynotes on 44.5. So 44 is down here off of the spleen. So you can see 57, 44, and 50. So he's got 3 active gates and he's got 1 active channel off of his spleen. So the spleen is all about safety. So this guy is all about safety. And so if you watched the interview, you saw what came out and you listened to his point of view about safety. So this is something that's very important to him. So 44.5. So 44, the success of any interaction is based on the absence of any preconditions. And so think about that. How many preconditions do we have when we're born into the royal family? Like how many preconditions do we have when we're born a white male privileged person from a very privileged family who have a 1,200-year long line? There's a lot of preconditions there. And so think about that. The gate 44 comes up, coming to meet alertness. The success of any interaction is based on the absence of any preconditions. And line 5, people, is called manipulation. The ability to transform interaction with inferior elements into the energizing a progressive process with the additional benefit that in tapping the inferior elements, they remain weak, where the instinctive recognition of the patterns leads to a possible manipulation of others. So again, I'm not going to tell you what to think here, but he does have the ability to be manipulative. right here in his chart, in his vocation. And so in Western society, we think about manipulation as a bad thing, but there's always somebody who's going to be pulling the puppet strings. And we do need people to pull the puppet strings, otherwise stuff doesn't happen. So you think about a manifesting generator who's willing to investigate, who's willing to try new things, is pulling the puppet strings for his own vocation. Now, again, this is unconscious Mars, so he might not even know about this, but you do your own due diligence here, you guys. When I saw that, I was like, oh. And then we move on to his business culture, which is his personality Jupiter, 38.1. So that's where he would thrive best in the family business. Now, if he decides to ever get back in the family business, or he's invited back into the family business, I don't think he's been disinvited from the family business. But if he decides to invite himself back, this is where he would thrive. Which is another really interesting gate. It's the fighter. So we go to 38.1. Let me read you this keynote. So 38, opposition, the fighter, the ability to preserve individual integrity through oppositional to detrimental forces. So he's not just going to sit around and be the person who gets mowed down by oppression. He's just not going to be that person. He's a fighter. And you even look at his like physical being, like he's really, really physically adept. He's not the type of person who will sit around and get fat. I'd stake my name on it. He's just not going to be that person. He is a mover, he's a shaker, and he really, really takes action. So the ability to preserve individual integrity through opposition to detrimental forces. So thinking about preserving your individual integrity. So that's wonderful, because a lot of us, myself included, have had difficulty preserving our individual integrity. And so having Harry as a friend, having Harry as a mate, having Harry as a brother, having Harry in your family, this person has the ability to preserve their integrity. So you always know what you're going to get. And isn't that nice when you have people in your life, whether you like what they're doing or not, that they have the integrity to just be themselves in any moment. So line 1 is tempering opposition based on the circumstances, a psychic attunement that guarantees proper action, the psychic gift of knowing when and how to fight. So thinking about all of the conversations, if Harry is the one who has the intuition and knows when and how to fight, then I wonder what we really know about the truth and all of this. So the other thing that I want to show you about Harry is something called the Pearl. So this is over on the personality side, the personality Jupiter, 10.6. So that's your superhighway to profits. That's how you actually get paid in this lifetime. So your number 1 for him, which was that conflict friction, that line 6 or 6 line 1. And then we're going to gate 10, treading the behavior of the self, the underlying code of behavior, which ensures successful interaction despite circumstances. So he just knows how to show up. He knows how to be himself and ensure successful interaction with others. And so line 6 is the role model. And so in whatever he's doing, he's actually role modeling something that people can choose for themselves, whether he's aware of this or not. Let me read the role model. The perfect expression of the norms through action rather than words. The constant example that reinforces the complacent on the basic integrity of set behavior. the enduring value of the expression of the self through action rather than words. And so when we think about this relationship, and we're going to move on to Harry and Meghan next, this is the person who will be able to give Meghan the information that she needs. And so whether he gave her the information that she needs, whether she received the information that she needs, I'm not 100% sure. And so the only people who know for sure are the couple. And so the other thing that I wanted to draw your attention to are these channels. So Harry has 3 channels, and those are really, really informative. He has something called the 1057, which is the perfected form. And so you see it here. It goes off of the spleen, and it goes up to the 10 gate, which is the behavior of the self. And so I'm just going to tell you a little bit of information about that before we move on to the couples chart. So this channel of the perfected form, the 5710, is a really psychic channel. It actually knows exactly by the sound of it what they should choose next. And so again, you see here that part of this channel is red, which means it's unconscious, and part of it is fully conscious. And so he's probably quite conscious of always knowing where he should be, or in most cases, always knowing where he shouldn't be. Always knowing where he shouldn't be. And so thinking about this person, if he was someone, if he was your kid, or if he was your brother, or if he was in your family, he would be the person that you would start asking questions to about, oops, let's go back to slide 2. I would give him the role of making decisions about strategic positioning, making decisions about who goes where and why. And so that may not have been a conversation that he was allowed to have. So think about that for yourself. So let's move on to Harry and Meghan. And so I'm going to tell you a bit about Meghan, and then I'm going to talk a bit about the couple. So Meghan is a 5-2 generator. So if you look here, she is a 5-2 heretical hermit. And so the heretical, it sounds kind of like bad, but that person says stuff that changes the world. We need these heretics to say things that will change the world. And look at Meghan as a little kid. We've all heard this story where she wrote a letter to this dish detergent company and let them know that, the only people who washed dishes were most certainly not, wasn't only women. And so she ended up using her heretic power to be able to change the world. And so think about that as a role in your business. If you put the people who have this 5 energy, this transpersonal, heretical 5 energy in the front, instead of trying to shove them in the back, you're going to see by the end of this presentation why this information is important.